Hey folks, Cool18 here, and welcome to Let's Try Prime World. This video is going to be, I suspect there might be a little bit of controversy, a little bit of debating going on in the comments. And don't get me wrong, this game is actually pretty fun. It's a multiplayer online battle arena. It's a League of Legends type game. It's a Dota type game. And you're going to say, well, this doesn't look like it at all. In fact, if I mouse over here and you see that like I'm getting resources in like 22 hours, this kind of looks like a Facebook game. And okay, it's got that too. It's got that sort of Castleville, Farmville kind of aspect to it. It's got a bunch of features in the game to try to, I think, appeal to a bit of a casual crowd, while at the same time being a very legitimate and relatively fun MOBA to play. It's pretty good. It's got this single player campaign built into it that's actually pretty fun and great voice acting and storyline, and it's just weird. And it's got this gender thing that we're going to get to it. But listen, just promise me you guys will be civil to each other in the comments as we discuss gender issues in video games, because God knows that can lead to some pretty hairy stuff. All right, so let's start with this particular mode that we're in now. This is the sort of overworld between games kind of thing, and there's resource building. You've got your castle. The single-player campaign/tutorial brings you through setting a bit of it up. You can expand your territory. You can build these buildings. I've got a bunch of lumber mills. I've got some farms. I just built a new farm over here, actually, and building is pretty easy. So I'm going to take a lumber mill, for example, and I'm running out of room because I've got a terrible layout here. There we go. I'll put a lumber mill over there. Costs a certain number of resources, also requires a certain amount of population. My population is currently maxed out, so I'm going to go to my cabin over here. I'm going to upgrade one of my cabins to get more people. It's going to cost me a little bit of lumber and a little bit of cheese, so I'm going to do that. There we go, give myself a little bit more room in terms of population. My lumber mill over here, I can choose what cycle. These shorter cycles actually generate a fair amount. So this will create 480 wood per day if I click this every 30 minutes. Or, if I only want to check in once a day, I can go all the way over to the right. The cost effectiveness isn't bad, but you get a little bit less for time. Let's take the 30-minute thing so we can show it again at the end of the video. It's going to cost me 2 silver. After 30 minutes, I will get 10 wood. There we go. It's going to tick away and get that done. I've got another farm that's not working here. I'm going to do the same thing. We'll get some cheese out of that. I like the art style. I think it's great. I think it does exactly what it should be doing. This sort of stylized, cartoony look has worked very well for a lot of games. League of Legends, World of Warcraft. I mean, World of Warcraft was savage when it came out for this cartoony art style, this unrealistic art style, and I think it's proven that it works really well. You can see exactly what everything is that way, and I think it's great, and I'm not going to complain about that at all. It is free to play. There's a large stable of heroes. It's still an early release, so there's a lot of, I'm sure there's going to be many, many more heroes as the game goes on. You unlock them using silver that you earn through your town. For example, I'm trying to remember what it is. Oh, my manufactory over here, for example, turns my lumber into silver, and there's plenty of other ways to get some money as well. You can see here that unlocking the Highlander would cost me 700 silver. Unlocking Firefox would cost me 2,200. The cost does go up, but you are going to get more and more money as time goes on. Now, I have 5 heroes unlocked here. I do not yet have the Highlander or the Firefox unlocked, and everyone else I can't unlock yet, because my character in the game actually is this Lord of this keep, and I'm currently a level 7 character here, so I can't unlock the Warrior yet, because I have to be level 8 before I even have the option of doing that. Which, it's fine, whatever. Yes, and you can spend real money in the game. Gold ballpark is about $5 for 100 gold. They did start me off with 100 gold. They gave me a code for that, and I used that to actually purchase a dog's house because I thought it was cute. It gives me a little pet dog in game that doesn't actually do anything. It just looks adorable, and gave me a certain amount of resource every day for that. You can also I'm trying to remember how I actually got in there. This button here just opens the web browser. How do I? Oh, special offers was one of the ways I can see things. 9 gold, you can unlock 1 hero all the way up to 125,000 silver. So that's relatively cheap to be able to unlock a few people that way. New heroes being advertised. Buy a hero for gold. And the Golden Age just gives you more resources all the time, just for spending a little bit of gold. So I don't feel like it's pay to win any more than any free to play game is going to be to a certain extent. Apparently, the higher cost heroes are not necessarily more powerful than low cost ones, just a certain amount of rarity. But obviously, having more options is always going to be relatively strong. Now, there are a few other mechanics in here in terms of these prime crystals and a talent forge, but we're going to go into the game first, and we're going to look at how some of the mechanics work. And we're going to start to discuss some of the weird stuff going on here. Actually, before we go into the game, we'll talk about the talents here. Why not? So, I can open up the duelist here. There's somewhere you can go and find out what these characters' real names are and what their backstory is and all that kind of stuff. You can see the different skins, which obviously you can buy with real world money, and that's fine. You know, no one's going to complain that, you know, cosmetic items can be purchased with real world money. Who cares about that? We can see the stats. So level 36 is the maximum level for these heroes, but you can see the stats at level 1 and what the stats will be at level 36 by itself. Check marks next to the stats that are particularly important for this hero. Strength increases physical damage on auto attacks. I tried to say intelligence and intellect at the same time. Increases magic damage. This guy uses physical damage, so strength will increase his damage more. But there's also a check mark next to intellect because this guy has a few abilities that really scale well with intellect. We'll see those. And then there's agility, more attacks per second, and penetration. This guy works really well as a sort of auto attack kind of champion. If you're playing in League of Legends, you'd know him as an attack damage champion. But he actually works really well as an intellect-based kind of support guy as well, as far as I can tell. Don't have a ton of experience with the game yet. And there's a few other stats, and that's great. And then we can see the talents over here. Now, what are the talents? First of all, when you play this game, there is no such thing when you're in an actual match as experience points and gold. There's only one resource called Prime. You get it from being near something that dies, you get more of it if you get the last hit, and you get lots and lots more if you manage to be around for a hero kill, either the killing blow or an assist or something of that nature. You get Prime, and you can use Prime to purchase some items in the game, but really it's just consumables. During the course of gameplay. There are no real items like you would find in League of Legends or Dota. Instead, you have all these talents, and they all get unlocked using Prime. Some of them are active. These ones with the square around them, these are activated abilities. These are your actual, your abilities that actually do stuff, generally speaking, in the game. So this fair game ability will stun an enemy and potentially deal damage. We'll talk about native terrain once we get into the game. Pummel over here will increase your agility for a certain amount of time, and so on and so forth. If we flip over to this healer support, Jaeger's cool. He's got an ability to summon a wolf, and he can also throw a spear. He's actually a lot of fun. I've been really enjoying that character. But so those are active abilities, active talents that you unlock using Prime in the game. But then there's plenty, in fact the majority, are passive talents that you also unlock with Prime. So here, Advantage costs 350 Prime in-game, roughly the same as the rest of the level 1 talents here. And this gives you a 25% chance of dealing bonus damage against soldiers and monsters. That is not heroes. So this guy's actually a very good jungler because of this sort of ability. And this is the same as buying an item. So you're kind of picking and choosing what to prioritize. If you're in the jungle, you might prioritize picking up Advantage first, and if you are not in the jungle, you might prioritize getting something else, maybe Ancient Power for more health because you're getting hit in the lane. You're having to need more survivability. If you haven't played a game like League of Legends and Dota, some of these terms may be a little bit esoteric, like what is the jungle and so on. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we go into an actual match. So yeah, there's no real items. You're picking certain talents, and when you've got a certain amount of talents on the first tier, or you reach high enough level, then you can start to pick from the level 2 tiers, 3, 4, 5, 6. You'll be quite high level before you can start picking level 6 talents. They also tend to cost, they do cost a fair bit more Prime. So the rate at which you unlock abilities slows down as, you level up, which is all perfectly fine. The big deal about this game is that, so if you've played Dota, you know that every single match starts with every hero being exactly identical. Up until you start buying items and you start sort of picking from your 4 abilities which ones you're going to level up faster. But other than that, they're relatively samey. League of Legends is in a similar boat, except between masteries and runes and your ability to choose summoner spells, you could have two of the same champions that go into a game slightly different, not monumentally so. One might be slightly more optimized to doing sort of auto attack damage, and one might be slightly better at casting spells. Alistair is an example of someone you might build more tanky, more survivable, versus a build that is more based around support. Your items are going to have a much bigger impact than your masteries and runes, but they're still gonna factor in. In this game, you can swap out any one of these talents for others in your pool. One of the buildings in your town here, the Talent Forge, converts these Prime crystals into talents. It will generate a random talent, add it to your library, which you have here, and then bring it to your list here, which you can drag and drop in. For example, I could swap out this Mystic Hunger ability and replace it with a Healing Power ability to give me some health regeneration if I wanted. Some of these are even active. For example, this Focus of Forces is not something that Jaeger starts with naturally. I added that from my pool, so that'll actually give him a new activatable ability during the game, which is kind of cool. And I could swap these out. There's a certain amount of cost to assign, so if I look around here, you can see some of these talents have actually already been assigned to someone. This was assigned to Warlord. This one's already assigned to Jaeger. He doesn't have it equipped, but it's assigned to him. If I want to assign this to a different hero in my pool, it costs me a little bit of silver to do that swap, for example. And then some of these might be... Yeah, see, Noble Blood here has not been assigned to anyone, so I could give this to Jaeger. It's actually a pretty good ability. The fact that the name is in blue means it's a bit rare as opposed to ones that are in green or yellow, which are more common abilities. So you can really fine-tune your character and have an experience. I mean, it makes more sense. If you're going to pick someone, you're probably picking them for their actual abilities, their activated abilities, but the passive stuff you can really, really mix up quite a bit. And this is not automatically active. You have to pick and choose while you're playing a match which one you unlock with your prime. You might end up unlocking a fair majority of them most of the time, but the order that you do it in, or some you might prioritize the ones you've picked up. See, this one's kind of an offensive one. Some of these might be more defensive, like this one with health. So you're choosing between a bunch of health versus doing a little bit more damage, for example. So you'll adapt to the situation as it comes up. So I quite like this mechanic. I mean, I don't know what it means for long-term viability of the game, esports kind of potential, all that kind of things, but I kind of like it. I like this town mechanic. It's very cool. And there's a couple other mechanics in gameplay that I do think are very good. We haven't quite gotten to the major gender issue yet, but just bear with me. Let's go ahead and hop into a game and see what it's like. We've got Jaeger here. We're going to do that. I'm just going to load up a practice match. It's a standard 5v5 MOBA style battle. This is going to be all with AI people, both as opponents and on the other team. So let's just get that going. It says there's a queue, but because it's a single player situation, there won't actually be a queue. Get that going. So we're in a practice match. They do have a variety of game modes. I haven't explored most of them yet. We'll try to make some follow-up videos looking at some of those, and we'll also look at some actual multiplayer games as well. So, it shouldn't take too long to load since I'm the only one in here. And we'll talk about the game. So I won't be playing the match, really fully and properly. We're going to be talking about the map aspects as well. So you can see here, standard sort of MOBA map. There are three major lanes. There's the middle, the top, the bottom. There is a kind of a foresty, jungly kind of thing here with some camps where some neutral minions will spawn, like here, for example, that you can go and kill for extra prime, so you can level up faster. And so originally in these MOBA games, the standard configuration, you would get two people that would go to the top lane, one person that would go to the middle, and two to the bottom. It was very, very common. Sometimes you'll see a mix-up. Dota often has a 1-1-3 composition, at least in sort of pro-level games, not so much in casual. League of Legends really made jungling a major role, so you'll have one person for a significant portion of the game that just goes around these neutral camps and just farms them constantly for money and resources and that sort of thing. So you end up with a kind of a 1-1-2 composition. Well, Prime World, you can actually have a 1-1-1 composition. One person top, one mid, one bottom, one person jungling, assuming you have someone who can do that sort of thing. You can actually have one person playing a minigame most of the match. And this brings us in. So you've already got this kind of Castletown, Farmville kind of gameplay in the overworld. It actually has pretty serious like Facebook integration as well as just sort of resembling a Facebooky kind of game. And then you've got this minigame aspect. You could have someone who's sitting here most of the course of the game using the scroll workshop and playing this minigame where you are trying to complete these pictures. And I think it's actually quite cool. You'll see, why would they do something like this? One, it's different and novel and interesting, and kudos for trying something new. The other thing is, it's quite clear that what they're trying to do is encourage more casual players to join these games. Perhaps your significant other. So you are a serious gamer and you have a significant other who's not perhaps ready for multiplayer online battle arenas. Because, I mean, seriously, those things are pretty hardcore, right? There's It's pretty vicious, there's a lot of yelling at people, it's pretty competitive, and just surviving in that kind of environment and not feeding can be quite difficult. But maybe, you know, you have a tablet at home, you're quite comfortable playing these sorts of casual games, so you'll be happy doing this while your significant other, who's more of a gamer, is going out slaughtering people in the field of battle. So I've just completed this mini game, I've completed this painting. I think it's beautiful, I think it's quite lovely, visually pleasing. What does it do is it rewards scrolls, this bird scroll, which you can activate, and it gives a pretty significant buff to all allies in an area, and a pretty serious debuff to all enemies in an area. Normally this would cost 700 prime to purchase from the side shop that you can see here and here, so that's a pretty valuable item. You also got rewarded with a certain amount of prime yourself, so you can actually level up by playing these mini games. And the thing is, the scroll doesn't have to go to you, you could give it to someone else. I could click on Vampire Guy over here and give him the scroll. Boom. And support my team simply by sitting here playing this mini game for a significant portion of the game. It's entirely viable. So the idea is obviously to encourage a more casual crowd. I've got a certain amount of talent or prime saved up, so I can unlock some talents. They have one here, which is the recommended one. I think what it does is it just goes from the left to the right until you've unlocked the next tier. So I think you will, you know. Well, I can try it. I can click Wolf Call. Oh no, and then it goes to Piercing Spear, I guess because it's an activated ability. And then it's going to prompt me for Advantage, which is this one. And then I've actually got enough to unlock the next tier. So as soon as I get up to enough prime, then it'll actually start recommending these guys instead. As you can see, you know, I've got the activated abilities, my Wolf Call, which I will trigger now, which will actually summon a pet. Because I bought that a doghouse with actual gold, I've got this puppy. It's a non-combat pet. I'm going to deactivate it just to not be confusing. But now I can click around, I've got my wolf. Anyone I attack, it will also attack, and I can throw a spear at people. There we go, I just got enough prime to unlock Death Grip. So my wolves will now slow people, which is really quite cool because they run pretty quick.
Let's get 'em.
So we'll click around. One of the mechanics are these flagpoles. The flagpoles actually extend your territory. You can see everything here is greenish and lush because I'm at the bottom left map, and then up here, well, it's also greenish and lush, but it's jungle, right? Jungly kind of woods versus, I don't know, deciduous and evergreen kind of woods here, and then there's a bit of a wasteland in between. So by flipping these flags, you actually extend your territory. It's called native terrain, and some of your abilities, for example, this one has extra effects if you're on native terrain. Yeah, just this one here. So this will give me more powerful wolves if I'm casting this ability on native terrain. I really think this mechanic is quite cool. You can attack flags yourself to destroy your opponent's flags. Let's go up and try to get some kills over here. I've got a decent amount of XP. I'm not as high as Inventor over here, which is incredibly fun. But there we go. We can attack this flag, which will break down the native terrain. You can see we've got this one minion here, this destroyer, who will actually engage flags, whereas the other minions will ignore it. He will also automatically flip flags in your favor. And I like the effect of your native terrain pushing forward. Again, I think it's quite nice. Really lovely kind of looking game. So, I am in favor of most of these casual features. I think it's a great idea to pull a different audience into the MOBA group. So, what am I whining about? What is the problem over here? There's one ability, which I should have unlocked this time, called Hero's Charm. And there's a lot of text going on, but this is basically how it works. If you're near someone who drops below 20% health, it will shield them. It will cast a shield on that person, which will absorb a certain amount of damage. That can only happen once in a single lifetime. After that, you've got, I don't know, I guess a debuff applied to you that will only go away once you die. So the person who gets shielded gets a debuff that will only go away once they die, so they can't be shielded twice. And also, you yourself who used it, I believe, will also get a debuff, so you can't shield someone else until you die as well. So, you know, it doesn't happen super often. What's the catch? The catch is it only works on people of opposite genders. And, you know, okay, by itself, that's kind of odd, but okay, whatever. But no, I mean really opposite gender. It's not enough, you know, I'm quite fond of playing a lot of female characters in these games, because a lot of times they have gameplay that is very compatible with the way that I like, right? I don't like to play big, you know, gnarly bruisers in these games. I tend to like spellcasters, I like to play support characters. So a lot of these MOBAs make female characters that, and you know, that's a whole other discussion, but I quite enjoy playing them. Well, that doesn't count. That's not opposite gender enough. It only works if you are playing someone of your actual gender, and the other person is also playing someone of their actual gender, and you are opposite genders. The hell? So I think the idea here is to encourage you to be able to bring in your significant other to play games with you. And, I mean, let's be honest, what they're thinking and what, true to a certain extent, chances are you are probably male, and you are probably the primary gamer, and you're probably trying to get your significant other, your girlfriend, your wife, to play games with you. And this makes it easier as you pair up to do that, because they will be somewhat more survivable. In fact, you'll be more survivable as well, so that'll perhaps offset some amount of newbiness that is coming there. The problem is the generalizations. The problem is also, what if you're gay? What if your partner is of the same gender as you and is also not a very good gamer? It only works if you're opposite sexes? That's kind of not great. So what should I do? Should I sign up for the game and when I sign up for my account, should I sign up for an account and list myself as female? And that way, when I play my female characters, and in fact, I will sign up as female and only play female characters, because odds are most of the other people in the game will be male. Most of them will hopefully play male characters, and then we'll get to take advantage of the game and take advantage of the buff, and, break this system that is, again, I'll give them kudos for being innovative, but, several minus points for being perhaps, smart and appropriate. Also, the other problem, which, again, as a guy, you don't necessarily think of, but women, this may become as a shock, but women are sometimes harassed in multiplayer games. And this will make it exceedingly obvious what their gender is, because this buff can come into play. And yeah, maybe, maybe it's not very common to play with a hero's charm. Maybe it is. But actually, on the loading screen, even here, you can see the gender explicitly listed on these character portraits. Now, whether this person playing as Cryo is a female character, I don't know if this symbol is representative of just the character or the player behind it or both or whatever. I guess I should have come in here with one of the female characters and actually double check what the symbol was. So as someone who's a game aficionado and interested in game design and just game design analysis, I'm very intrigued by the concept of it. It's very innovative, but I'm not convinced that it's actually a great thing. And, also, if your goal is to increase, gender diversity in your game and try to bring in non-traditional genders to your gaming environment, why do you have a big panty shot on your homepage? Like, literally, that's the thing you see. If you open up their homepage and you need to have your browser set wide enough because it's part of the background. On the left-hand side, there's someone, I don't know, firing off a bow or casting a spell from behind with a short skirt. Huge panty shot. And, what's up with that? I don't know. I think they came up with a few really interesting ideas to try to distinguish themselves from other MOBAs, but there's certainly some questionable stuff in there that doesn't feel like forward progress to me. Again, I'm sure we're going to generate all kinds of comments in the comments down below. I hope everyone is going to be as civilized as possible in discussing this, because it is worth discussing on many, many levels. But yeah, is the game fun? Sure, it seems like a straight-up good MOBA, much more reminiscent to League of Legends than Dota, and that's not a bad thing. I actually quite like the city-building simulation aspect of it. I think it's quite fun. I will probably follow this up with some actual multiplayer videos so we can talk about the gameplay in a more sort of competitive and direct sense, but this gender thing just, I can't get past it. It's kind of weird and kind of creepy. I don't know. I don't know. Let me know what you think. See you next time, folks. Bye-bye.